Christmas Eve has always been one of my favorite days. When I was 6 years old, I prayed to receive Christ, and that was 40 years ago today. So today is my 40th spiritual birthday. So for 40 years, I've had a relationship with God. I've talked to Him, I've listened to Him, I have seen Him work in real time, but I've also waited. And in the waiting, I've been discouraged, I have felt hopeless, I've questioned whether or not things were true. And in the end, because the Lord gives us spiritual eyes, and I can't even explain that, He just does, I can always see His presence and His goodness. And I can genuinely say that He is as good today as He was 40 years ago, as He was 4,000 years ago. He is as good today as He's ever been and as He ever will be, because He's consistently good. He's consistently been good in my life, and I have loved Him for all of it. Even when I haven't felt like it. I've wondered if He knew my circumstances. I have prayed for the faith to trust Him, and He gave it to me. And I've learned a few things over 4 decades, and I guess what I would want anybody to know is just that He is good. He's really good, and He doesn't change. We do. We change a lot. Our feelings change, our circumstances change, our personalities even go through seasons, but He does not. He is consistent, and He's good in the way that He needs to be good in each season. As a child, I felt Him. I felt His goodness in the safety and the security that I felt as a child. As a teenager, I knew He was good because He protected me and He guided me through some of my very questionable decisions. As a young mom, He provided for me every day just in strength and endurance. Those were very long days. Today, He has consistently been a friend to me. On the lonely days, when things change, like when your kids grow up and they leave, or when things happen in your family, He's just there, and I know that He's there because He has allowed me to see Him working through the last 40 years. One of the things my dad told me when I was a kid was, if you pray and ask God to allow you to see Him, He will. And He does. I can't explain that except just to say that is a prayer that God has answered so consistently in my life. If I say, Lord, I don't know where You are right now, but if You could just let me see You working, He does. Another thing that I've learned is that His Word is alive. Teaching is good, and we benefit so much from good teaching. But I also think that God gives us His Word for us, His children, to think about and to know and to ponder. And it's not just something that's taught to a mass of people. It needs to be something that we interact with to know Him, because it's a relationship. And that's become very important to me as an adult. I didn't realize that in my younger years. I thought teaching was church, and to know that I can know Him through His Word and be a better friend to Him as He is a friend to me, because I know Him. I know who He is, because His Word is about Him. It's not about me. And anyway, that is something I've learned over the last 40 years. Something else that has been formative for me is talking about Him. That's unnatural. That's not a thing that people are good at. And I'm not. I'm not as good at it as I want to be. But to talk about him and to acknowledge him and recognize what he does, to talk about him with my friends or with my family, those moments of just verbalizing that he's near and that he's good and that he cares, those help me see more of those moments. It's like, you talk about your people to your people, and it's like making him one of your people. And that has made a formative difference in my family. I've seen that in my family, just the comfort level of being able to talk about God and talk about what he's doing, talk about the things we don't understand, talk about the things that where we fall short, talk about the struggles we have, but also, what he says and what he wants and how he's working and the way we see him in the world. That's been a big part of my relationship with him. And also, it's for everyone. Whether it's been 4 days of belief or 40 years, a relationship with Jesus is for everyone. No matter what your life has looked like, no matter the road you've walked down, he genuinely is available and wants you. He wants you. He loves us. And we are so not good at understanding that. But the more I ask him to help me see people the way that he sees them, the more I'm aware that just because I've grown up in church, I don't have the market on, I don't have any kind of a secret, is what I'm trying to say. There's not like a formula for knowing how to do this. You just enter into a relationship with him in trust, and you just ask him to help you believe, and he does. And then everything looks different. You see things differently. The more you know him, the easier it is to know him. And only God can be that way. After 40 years, I've known a lot of people in my life. People are not that way. People are wonderful, and I love them. But they don't have that transformative effect on our lives like God does. And so ultimately, I think the thing that's made the biggest difference in my life is just acknowledging him. I've known him for a long time, and I've always known that he was with me, and I do believe and I trust that he is good, but that hasn't been natural. That hasn't been second nature for me. I've begged him. I have laid on the floor in tears saying, God, where in the world are you right now? Just let me see you. I don't understand. This makes me mad. And I've learned that God can handle my anger. God can handle my questions. He's God. He's got it under control, and he can handle all of that. But by acknowledging him and recognizing him and saying, Lord, I don't see you right now. I need to see you. He allows us to see him. And through that, we can see his goodness. And when we see his goodness, we can love others more fully, more genuinely. At least I hope that that's the outcome. I hope that that's the byproduct. It's not always been easy, but he's always been good. I can say that wholeheartedly. 40 years. He has taken really good care of us, really good care of me. And he's as good today as he's always been.